Hi, and welcome to Canboulay Training and Development, our podcast, where we discuss everything about workplace bullying and harassment and being safe in the workplace. Today, we are going to discuss workplace bullying and harassment and mental health. As some of you may be aware, this week, May 2nd to 8th, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. And I have a special guest with me today who was my therapist and who really helped me to navigate through the process of workplace bullying and harassment. My name is Camille Macmillan Rambarat. This is Canboulay Training and Development, and we are happy to have you and would love to hear from you. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you, Camille. I'm privileged to be here.
I am privileged to have you. It's been almost 3 years, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you tell our listening audience a little bit about you, your name, your background, what you do, and how could we find you?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Ruth Patta. I'm a registered clinical counselor here in BC, specifically in Surrey. And I work with an array of issues, trauma and marriage and family counseling. So yeah, that's my background. I help people with various issues, including anxiety, but also, traumatic experiences and transitions, and also marriage and family issues. Couples. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so welcome. You are our fourth guest, so still early in the game.
Yeah.
So Ruth, concerning workplace bullying and harassment, which has been up over the last year or two, some people didn't even know workplace bullying and harassment was a thing, because they really felt that was left in the schoolyard. I myself wasn't aware that was such a thing. So could we speak about workplace bullying and harassment and the effects it has on one's mental health? And we can discuss first, because this is not just about the victim or target, right? Even co-workers it can affect, and families. So let's just start with what effects on our mental health does workplace bullying and harassment have on us?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. So this is an issue that needs advocacy, and part of counseling. There's the practice part, but there's also, that part of advocacy where you come across, different issues or a major issue that affects, majority of people or a section of people. And sometimes, as counselors, we are out there doing advocacy. So I would say that this is part of, there's the therapy giving, but there's also an advocacy. So hopefully that this topic we are discussing here will enlighten somebody and be able to help them maybe have a voice or consider, but I think that the main effect of workplace bullying is about, safety, the word safety. So when people work in various workplaces, the most important thing is how safe they are there. There's a lot of work that goes into physical safety and making sure that, people are safe in various ways. But sometimes mental safety is a fluid thing, and a lot of people are stressed out or they lack this form of safety, which is mental health. And I think strongly workplace bullying and harassment is one thing that threatens the safety of workers. And once that area is threatened, then even the productivity or the well-being of the person And this can go along to have a basis or a foundation of trauma for many people that they probably don't have an ability to address at the moment, or there are no structures or ways to address it, or even knowledge that this is something that can be a hindrance, to their health.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking about trauma, what are some of the if you can, I can only name it because I have been through it, but what are some of the names that, because people honestly believe to this day, you just shake it off and you walk it off. People have committed suicide over it, PTSD, depression, anxiety. And I want you to help our audience understand, especially family members who really think that it's nothing, like just forget about it and move on, to understand the depth of that trauma.
Right, yeah. So, various ways can be used to describe mentally, health-wise, how what workplace harassment and bullying can lead to. And when we say trauma in a general sense, sometimes people think of trauma as a great disaster, some flooding, some earthquake, but trauma can be that everyday, continued, small things that add up to make somebody lose their grounding or even their identity or even their self, And so this is one way that can be micro but continuous, affecting people's life, and it can be a foundation or a trauma, or some people call it PTSD. That just means post-traumatic stress disorder. It means that beyond that incident that happened, you are still very stressed based on whatever happened. And it can be a continuous thing. It can be a one-time thing, but it can be a continuous. Unfortunately, like for people who go through workplace bullying and harassment, it's not usually just one day, one thing. It's an accumulation, something that goes on. And by the time now you're gripped by it and you're stuck in there, it's something that has been going on over time without, and there's a reason why people don't either recognize or address these things, because when people look for work, or look for places to go to, the first thing is, they're looking to earn, a living. They're looking to support their families. They're looking to support their loved ones. They're looking to pay, to have a roof over their head and to have food to eat, and it's a very important thing that when somebody goes to look for work, they are not just there, and so sometimes this workplace harassment can be something that is happening, but somebody's thinking, okay, do I have to choose between me having a roof over my head and pursuing this thing that, is happening to me? So a lot of people, keep it. They don't talk about it, and maybe there are no structures to talk about it, or they don't even recognize that this is happening. And by the time it catches up with them, it causes trauma, it causes, a lot of, heartache to the person going through it. And it could be it's something that once trauma has happened to you, it takes, a journey to overcome or to work through it. It could be a continuous thing that goes on before the person realizes that this is it. But sometimes it's just a choice of, do I have a roof over my head, or do I have food, or do I address this issue? Because it's like choosing between you have a job and you don't have it.
Yeah. And that's interesting, since for me, as you are with the advocacy work that I do, I have come across so many people, exactly as you said, who are still in their jobs to this day, especially during COVID, but even before COVID, would say to me, I can't afford to leave my job.
Right.
I've had women say to me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do it. I need the money.
Yes.
So it's trauma after trauma, right?
After
and they
trauma.
just keep getting, their health is fading.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people who said they didn't speak up, but they were so traumatized that they left that job and changed their careers.
Right.
Where their partner wasn't even aware that that's the reason for changing careers. Like, I've had one person who was an immigrant who said to me, I can even tell my husband of 25 years that the reason why I was switching careers was this. She did not want him to feel or think of her as weak. For walking away.
And remember, this trauma, it doesn't only affect one sphere of your life at workplace. You have a home, you have a family, you have children, and sometimes even just, it's shame to tell them that somebody is harassing you at work, or somebody, it's like when you come home, you become small, you become, confused, and it's hard for you to parent your children, and you just get into a kind of an identity crisis when this happened to you. It takes a toll not only on your earning, but also on your close family members, because now you are a stressed person, you are an anxious person, you are easily startled, you are afraid, and this is going to affect even the people who are close to you that you should be, having a good connection with.
Yeah, it puts a strain. I know for me, for sure, it has put a strain on my family, and so that's another stress one has to deal with. But one of the things, I'm sorry, allergies. One of the things when I met you and we spoke, I think maybe by the third visit, I kept speaking about that shame. I feel so ashamed. I feel shame. And you just brought it up, that targets / victims feel ashamed. Why? Why is it? Because we aren't, and I don't know, well, I'll tell you, when I was asking, I was saying, I feel so ashamed. And you asked why. And I couldn't, like, I was searching. And I remember asking, why do rape victims feel ashamed? But for me, recognizing and being able to compare the two was just like, oh, there's no reason. I can't explain it. Shame is not mine. But, and that's one of the things you took me through, that shame does not belong to you. And I want you to touch on why do we feel ashamed? Why do targets feel ashamed? Why do we just, the irony is, after I was attacked physically, I got a text message which I was told I should be ashamed, right? Shame on you. But that added more shame to my shame. So why is it that victims, targets feel ashamed? Why do we? Why?
I hear you. Yeah, you realize that there's a number of feelings and a vast array of feelings that the person who is getting bullied and harassed is going through. There's a lot, and there's sadness, because of a sense of loss here. You're likely to lose your job, or there's sometimes anger, because you recognize that your boundaries or respect is being violated, or human dignity is being violated, and there is anxiety here, fear of losing, or just fear of not knowing what to do, or the unknown in the future. And there's shame is a major one. It's a major feeling that comes with it. So at the root, if you look, unpack this idea of bullying and harassment, the bully is a very insecure person, and they're looking to project, they're looking for a target, they're looking for, what can I use to project this energy that I have? But it's coming from a deep insecurity. And so if there's a loophole at work, there's no good structure at work, and there is, a theme about, maybe racism or something, they'll always latch into something that gives them, a grip on their target. But if you look at the real idea about bullying, it's that it's gonna come from somebody who's very insecure to begin with, and they're just looking for a target, And so their lack of structures or structures that can help or give them, that ability to pounce on a target, and maybe that's for another day, a topic for another day. But an immigrant can be a target, or a racialized person can be a target, or whatever it is, it can even be male, female, it can be a target, But just understand that bullying or harassment in itself is coming from a person, from a sense of insecurity, And so the person who is bullying doesn't know exactly who they are. They're trying to find themselves, and they are very insecure, and they're looking for a target. And this brings us to a point of understanding our identity, When people, like, let's say, move here, you're a Black person who moved here, there's a lot of support that goes on, but there's also a lot of other things that goes on with the support. And so you might find that, maybe somebody is coming in, they're still trying to find their footing, they're still trying to understand who they are, in this place, in this context. And so it can be easier, for that person to be a target for whatever reason, And so at the root of bullying and harassment is an identity issue. And identity issues, when we are in a place where we get, harassed or bullied, or we're going through traumatic experience, it's easier to lose or forget who you are, or to lose that grounding. And so that's why shame comes in so strongly as a feeling with harassment, because our human dignity is at stake here. Things like kindness and respect are out of the window. And so the person who is being bullied, they know that this is, is not how you treat people with dignity. And so then it can bring shame, because if, let's say, it's a fair environment and somebody said, "Oh, Camille, I think you did this wrong. Can you please correct it?" Or we are human and we make mistakes and we can do things wrong. When we do things wrong, you can have a sense of guilt, but we learn from it. Yeah. But when it comes to shame, it means that you're being projected as a mistake in your being. It's not that I did a mistake, I am a mistake. When you're going through bullying. So you start feeling like, who am I? Am I a mistake? Am I doing something wrong? Because the bully is always targeting on your human dignity, not the mistake that you did wrong. As a human being. And so that's why shame comes so strongly. Shame has that concept of, I am a mistake. And that's when now the bully has gotten a full grip of you. It's all about identity here. And so if the person is very helpless, or the person being bullied is on a flimsy ground and no support, they're likely to question if they are good enough.
And that, the no support coming from first the employer, right, adds to that shame. Makes you feel, I am no one, because it was just, let's just move on. And I love the fact that you touched on what or who a bully is and their insecurities.
Yeah.
And yes, it's for another time, another session. But one of the things I learned, I've come to realize that bullies, you're right, it's not the one incident that happens, right? It's repeated.
Continuous,
and it starts off as little things, microaggression, things being said, and being in the workspace. You try to move through it. You try to navigate through that and bounce off it.
Right.
One thing I've learned, it's bullies not only look for I wouldn't say the weakest link, but their target at that point, there's something that's going on with them. They would be at their weakest at that time.
Exactly.
And you and I know, right, for me, it was about being on medical leave.
Yeah.
But bullies are deliberate in choosing their victim, their target.
Right.
And they do this love bombing / grooming.
Right, grooming is the word. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something, again, we'll have to speak about in our next session. But what about, so for a lot of BIPOC people, finding someone who looks like me, Black and brown people, because as you are aware, it took me forever to think that I needed therapy. It's the culture for Black people. From the Caribbean, you pray it away, you wait for time to go. So for me, I got to that point where when I knew I needed counseling, it was hard to find someone who someone within the BIPOC field. Right. So I know I worked with you, which was amazing because there were certain things I said and you understood. I also worked with another therapist when my file was moved along, who was Filipino. And it was interesting, there's certain things when I said it, she identified. Right. So I wanted to touch on that, about the importance of finding that representation for BIPOC people within the community. When and not just because of workplace bullying and harassment. I want to speak about our mental health. Like, we shouldn't wait for something drastic to happen, but speak about the representation and why it is so difficult for BIPOC, especially Black men, to seek out mental health.
Yeah. So I think that, in every place, you have minority and majority of people. So I think...
Or marginalized.
Yeah, or marginalized, So the problem with maybe Black people or indigenous or BIPOC, as you call them, seeking help is very many reasons. First of all, you said something about our culture, that we are reluctant, to seek help because we push through and we believe, we can make it. And also from maybe our backgrounds, counseling is not something that is really, really established. People had structures of, seeking help, and, but when people move, into spaces like this, then you lose your grounding. A moment your grandmother who spoke your language is no longer there, and things are just different. So there's that process.
Your name isn't there.
Isn't there? So that can be hindrance into seeking help just because of our background, and then maybe from our backgrounds, counseling is not something that there are other structures for people to seek help. And that is not here. So maybe people are reluctant. And there could be something too about stigma, about it. But also, I think that, the question is, are there enough resources? If you come from a workplace, is there a way that people can easily seek help without, many blockages or, difficult structures to seek that help?
Yeah.
So that could be a problem. And if, let's say, for example, you're being bullied by somebody who is maybe different from you, if you can be reluctant to go find help because you kind of give up. You say, oh, but will I really find that help? Unless it's something that is really overtly spoken of and encouraged. I remember I worked in an organization where, that bullying and harassment was taken so seriously. And every so often, every quarter, they would bring up workshops and sensitize people and say, these are the channels. If this happens, you have this channel, you have this channel, and you can't, and people were aware, that this is something that is not tolerated in this workplace. But I don't think it's for every organization. Plus, one thing that I did notice too is that, these things can be micro. When you talk about microaggression, micromanagement, they can be micro in such a way that sometimes people are confused whether they're even, is it me or is that something that I could even, seek help for?
Yeah.
So, and one thing also, the people who do these things, sometimes they're so prejudiced that they don't even realize that saying such a thing or doing such a thing is a problem. They don't even get it to begin with. That whatever they have is a stereotype or is a prejudice or is a discrimination,
Or supported by the organization,
exactly.
right? That they are so bolden because they become braver, right? So before it will be something just micro between you and I, no witnesses, nothing is done. And then they will do it in a meeting, subtle emails, right? All those things.
Right.
And again, I am 100% sure that I was not the first victim target. What some people have said to me who are aware, you got it the worst, but we aren't surprised.
Right.
So, and people will say, oh, but don't you remember? But because I wasn't aware of workplace bullying and harassment, I didn't understand. So again, employers who protect these bullies, they're serial offenders. And that's what Canboulay is about, that no one should even be allowed to become a serial offender and stop hiding behind employers who, for whatever reason, maybe because I don't look like them, BIPOC people, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons why these people are kept on.
Right. And what you did say about representation is really important, because representation gives people that confidence that, you know what, I think I can be listened to. But when the representation of people, like let's say they're board of directors, but you find like their party, maybe male, maybe, white, and then there's just one person, then they're saying, okay, we've fulfilled our, diversity or whatever, but then the people who are maybe majority working there would be thinking, I don't think they lose hope. I don't think I will be represented, so they give up. So representation has its own place, and I know there are some workplaces that take it really seriously and recognize that this is a problem, but I think there's a lot more to be done.
Yes. And I know you are really busy today, so I would like What would you like to share with our audience before you leave? I know what I usually say to my audience when I'm doing public speaking.
Yeah.
Document, document, document.
Right.
That's the first thing. And seek counseling. A lot of the audience usually say, even though they have been through workplace bullying and harassment, no, I don't need it, I'll be fine. And I usually say, I said that, but it creeps in on you, right? You'll be fine, you'll be fine. And you're trying to walk through it, everything that happened, being strong, but then it hits you, right? It hits you, and that's when you start to fall apart, which is really weird. So I think, I know if I have to do it all over again, I would have taken my doctor's advice and seek counseling right away. Right. What would you say to our audience who think that I don't need therapy? That's fine. So
I think that what we need to do, or what your company can do, is being out there and sensitizing people, not to maybe help them have a voice.
Yeah.
Help them to be able to have a ability to speak out. That's really difficult. But when people, like, let's say, organizations have, workshops, and they are able to encourage people to speak, that would be the first thing, to be able to speak. Because if you didn't speak about your case, it would have even been hard. Well, you could have sought counseling. I think those are, they are two separate, remedies that you can take. But I think that being able to let people know that you can get help in various ways. First of all, speak about it. And number two, maybe seek counseling. On our end, I think it's important to, I don't know how we can do it. Maybe that's a topic for another day. But having enough resources for people to be able to seek help, because counseling is also a really expensive, project if somebody is taking it, and that also discourages people from being able to afford it all. So all these things coming together, because you can tell somebody you can seek counseling, they want to, but then they can't afford it. So what is out there? Do people know that there's support? There's something out there that can help them seek that counseling if needed to. That information is something that should be passed out to people, especially concerning bullying and harassment.
Yeah, and that's important. And again, coming back to Canboulay training and development, that's sharing those free resources. Because for me, I decided I could not remain in a toxic environment. So I resigned, which meant I didn't have any medical, but I was fine to pay on my own. There are resources, as you know, that I have tapped into, but even to find that resource, and that's what Canboulay is about, to share the resources with you, how do you go about it? Right. And then I was able to get free support from this, which was really amazing. It's for so many other podcasts. Thank you so much, Ruth. It's great seeing you without me crying and you handing me a tissue box. Yeah. I've come a long way, and I look forward to having you be a regular on our podcast. And our listeners can check the link below to find out more on how you can connect with Ruth. And I can definitely say Ruth is amazing, patient, and really kind. And I felt that from you, where there were days when I had my meltdowns.
Yeah.
I didn't have an appointment, but I would text you to say, oh my gosh, and you'd be like, I can see you. I think you called me one night, like it was after 6, because the text came really, and I'm really happy for that. So thank you so much again, Ruth. And we look forward at Canboulay Training and Development, our podcast, Work Shouldn't Hurt. We look forward to many more conversations with you.